Today, we're going to jump into an ancient and, honestly, a pretty baffling story. It's about a leader at his wits' end, millions of thirsty people, a rock that miraculously gushes water, and a punishment so severe it's had people scratching their heads for centuries. Okay, let's get into this. So, right away, here is the central mystery. You've got this guy Moses, a total hero in this story, and he performs an incredible miracle to save his people from dying of thirst. You'd think, high fives all around, right? But instead, he gets barred from the one place he's spent his entire life trying to get to. So, why? And this is the verdict coming straight from God. I mean, the consequence is huge. Moses is told he blew it, he didn't trust, he didn't represent God's holiness, and because of that, he's not getting into the promised land. So what on earth did he do that was so bad? Well, to figure that out, we've got to go back in time a bit. You see, this whole crisis in the desert, it wasn't a new thing. For the people of Israel, it was a really painful case of déjà vu. They had been in this exact desperate spot once before. Now, what's really interesting here is the timeline. There are almost 40 years separating two events that are practically identical. In year 2 of their big journey, right after they escaped slavery in Egypt, they were desperate for water. And now, here we are in year 40, just about to finish the journey, and the exact same crisis hits again. So let's look at that first time this happened. The people are just exhausted, they're parched, they're terrified. They start complaining to Moses, basically saying, "Did you just bring us out to the desert to die?" I mean, they are at their absolute breaking point. And right then, God gives Moses a very specific command. The instructions couldn't be clearer. Take your staff, and you will strike the rock. So Moses does what he's told. He strikes the rock, and water just pours out. It's a miracle. Everyone gets a drink, crisis averted. Simple enough, right? Okay, so now let's jump to the second incident and see how this all builds. It's 40 years later. A whole new generation is in the same desert making the same complaint. The situation looks identical, but this time, the instructions are critically different. God's new command is just as clear. Take the staff, sure, but this time, speak to the rock. Don't hit it, just talk to it and it will give you water. So the method has completely changed. And this right here, this slide, just lays out the heart of the problem perfectly. On the left, the first event. The command was to strike, and Moses struck it. Perfect. But on the right, the second event. The command was to speak. But Moses, who was just fed up with the people, hits the rock twice instead. It's this moment of disobedience born out of pure anger. Now, water still comes out. God still provides for the people. But Moses did it his way, not God's way. So you gotta ask, why did this one detail matter so much? It really seems like such a small thing. He hit a rock instead of talking to it. Why would that simple action lead to such a massive punishment? Well, it's because there was something much, much bigger going on just beneath the surface. To really unlock this whole mystery, we actually have to jump forward hundreds of years to a letter written in the New Testament. It gives us this hidden key, this sort of golden thread that ties the whole story together and reveals what it was really all about. And there it is, the Apostle Paul, looking back on this old story. He writes that the rock wasn't just a rock. It was a symbol. It was a picture of someone else. He says flat out, the rock was Christ. And just like that, this isn't just a story about water anymore. It's a story about Jesus. Okay, let's break this down, because this is huge. If the rock is a picture of Jesus, then that first event where the rock was struck once, that was a picture of the crucifixion. A singular event happening one time to bring life. After that, well, life and grace would be available to anyone who simply asks, or in other words, speaks to the rock. So you see, by striking the rock a second time, Moses, in his frustration, completely ruined the picture. He misrepresented God's entire plan of redemption. He presented an image that kind of suggested the sacrifice had to happen over and over again. His failure wasn't just about a rock. It was about misrepresenting the very character and plan of God in front of everybody. And this whole idea of God being the rock, it's not some one-off metaphor. It is a theme that is woven through the entire biblical story, from beginning to end. I mean, just look at this. Again and again, the writers of the Bible come back to this image. From the earliest books calling God the shepherd, the rock of Israel, to the national anthems declaring there is no rock like our God, This imagery is so consistent. God is the solid ground in a world of sand. And then the whole story reaches its ultimate climax. Jesus himself stands up and makes this incredible declaration. He's basically saying, "Are you thirsty? I'm the source you've been looking for all along. I am the rock. Come to me and drink." He identifies himself as the fulfillment of this ancient, powerful promise. And what he's offering is what he calls living water. And this isn't just H2O. It's a deep, spiritual satisfaction. It's the answer to that inner thirst that I think we all feel for meaning, for purpose, for a life that actually lasts. So why does this ancient story about a rock in the desert still matter to us today? Because it's way more than just history. It's actually presented as an invitation, one that's meant for every single one of us. You know, the reason this story resonates so deeply is that we all get the metaphor. We all have our own wilderness moments, don't we? Those dry, thirsty, impossible places, in our jobs, in our relationships, in our own hearts, where we just feel stuck and empty and hopeless. The promise woven into this whole story is that even there, maybe especially there, a source of life is available. So if that idea of finding life in a dry place, if that connects with where you are today, the story doesn't just end with an explanation. It ends with an open door. For anyone listening who's feeling that thirst, here's a prayer that echoes the heart of this whole story. Feel free to just listen or to make it your own. God, today I've heard how you brought water from the rock, how life flowed in the middle of a dry and impossible place. And maybe I feel a little like that wilderness. So if you are real, and if Jesus truly is the rock who gives living water, I'm open. Show yourself to me. Bring life into the dry places of my heart. Lead me toward truth and guide me in my next step. Amen. If this resonates with you at all, we would love to help you explore faith. You can join us at Harmony Church this Sunday at 9 or 11 a.m. or find us online anytime. You don't have to walk this journey alone. Come discover the rock who still brings living water today.